Hi guys, this is Bison, your host, and today I'm going to show you arguably the most infamous game in chess history. Game 6 of the 1997 rematch between the legendary world champion Garry Kasparov and IBM supercomputer Deep Blue. To really get what was at stake, you have to look back at the history. In 1996, Kasparov crushed Deep Blue at a score of 4-2, and the whole world was kind of breathed a sigh of relief. It felt like human intuition was still king, but IBM didn't just walk away. They spent an entire year giving the machine a massive upgrade. They essentially built a deeper blue that could calculate 200 million positions every second. By the time they get met again in New York in 1997, the match was deadlocked after 5 intense games. Everything came down to this final showdown. What happened in this game didn't just shock the chess world, it completely changed how we look at artificial intelligence. So let's get dive into this game that proved for the first time that a machine could truly outplay the greatest human mind in history. Okay, so as you can see, this game starts with Caro-Kann defense, and now knight to d7. Kasparov develops his knight, and guys, this setup is known as Karpov variation. And guys, here Deep Blue goes for a weird move which looks like a weird move, knight to g5, which is a very aggressive jump. And guys, the idea behind this move is, let's suppose if black tries to kick this knight with the move h6, now comes knight to e6, a beautiful knight sacrifice. And I think most of you got the intention behind this move. Here the best move for black is to defend this queen as well as to develop it to b6, because if black gets greedy and he tries to capture this knight with the f pawn, that would be a blunder, because now comes queen to h5 check, and the only move is g6 and then queen takes g6, and that's a mate. So obviously Kasparov is not gonna fall for this. So that's why after knight to g5, he focuses on development and he develops his another knight on f6. Kasparov simply develops his knight, controlling the center. Okay, so bishop to d3. Here Deep Blue develops his light square bishop, e6 by Kasparov, opening the diagonal for this dark square bishop. Knight at 1 goes to f3, and you can see that and as you can see, up till now white is doing great. I mean, just look at his pieces. Both knights are developed, the light square bishop is already in the game, and the dark square bishop is going to be developed on the next move. So how can Kasparov now continue the game? Here the best move for black is to develop the bishop to d6, preparing to castle to safety. But in the game, after the move knight to f3, here Kasparov makes an inaccuracy by pushing h6. And guys, in this position, Deep Blue sacrificed his knight by playing knight takes e6, with the same idea which I mentioned earlier. I mean, if f takes e6, now bishop to g6 check, and if king to e7, bishop to f4. And now just take a look at these sniper bishops which are laser eyeing the black king. It's like trapping the black king in a jail. In the next move, white is simply going to castle, getting his king to safety, which automatically makes this position winning for white. So that is why after that is why after knight takes e6, here Kasparov develops his queen to e7, attacking the knight. But guys, in this position, Deep Blue ignores this knight and he decides to castle, because obviously queen takes e6 is not possible due to the threat of rook to e1, and black has to lose his queen. So that's why he decides to capture this knight with the f pawn. But after that, as you can see, now this diagonal is opened, so bishop to g6 check, king to d8, and bishop to f4, completely restricting black king from moving to e8 or to c7. And since black is in trouble, so how can black now continue the game? Here the best move for black is to consider the move knight to h7, so that he can bring this queen to f6 to improve its position. And now if white decides to bring his rook to e1, that will be a blunder. Can you guess why? Because of queen to f6. and you can see white has to lose one of his bishop. So that's why after knight to h7, here the best move for white is to bring this dark square bishop back to g3, defending one of his bishop. But now comes knight to g5, trying to open the h file, which is obviously white is not going to accept. So that's why knight to e5. But knight takes e5, d takes e5, king to c7. And although white is still better, but as you can see, here black is now successful in defending his king. Okay, so in the game, after a bishop to f4, so in this position, Kasparov plays b5. He tries to expand on the queen side as well as opening the square for his light square bishop, but deep blue counters this with a4. Bishop to b7, Kasparov develops his light square bishop, but rook to e1, bringing the rook into the e file. Knight to d5, here Kasparov attacks this aggressive bishop, but bishop to g3. And you can see now he is eyeing h4 to completely trap this queen on e7. So that's why he slides his king to c8. And after that, a takes b5, c takes b5. And you can see here deep blue is successful in opening the c file. And now he develops his queen to d3, bringing the queen into the attack. And you can see now c4 is coming. So that's why after seeing all of these challenges, Kasparov first of all defends the b5 pawn with bishop to c6 and also closing the c file. Now bishop to f5. Here deep blue takes benefit of this pinned pawn, and finally after seeing too much pressure, Kasparov decides to exchange the queen, or we can say give up the queen, against a rook and a bishop. And guys, now recapturing with the knight might be the best option because it also defends the bishop on c6. But instead, Kasparov recaptures with bishop takes e7. And guys, in this position, the final move by deep blue is c4. And here, Garry Kasparov resigned. Because let's suppose if this game continues like b takes c4, queen takes c4, attacking the bishop. So that's why here the best move for black is to consider knight to b4, defending the bishop. And as you can see, this knight is protected by the dark square bishop also. But guys, now white can play this amazing move, rook to e1, attacking the defender of the knight. So to defend this, if rook to e8, just pause the video and try to guess the next move which white can play in this position. And guys, the move is to give up the rook with rook takes e7. The idea is after rook takes e7, you can see white gets 2 minor pieces for a rook. And now if black tries to defend this rook with king to d8, bishop to h4, pinning the rook and the king. And if g5, if he tries to stop, knight takes g5, and obviously h takes g5 is not possible because of then bishop takes g5 with the same threat. So that's why king to e8 and finally knight to f3. And as you can see, there is nothing which black can do now to save this game. What a game by Deep Blue Computer. I mean, just imagine this was the first computer to put the world champion Kasparov in real trouble. And keep in mind, this game was played back in 1997, and at that time defeating the world champion like this was absolutely insane. So just think about the strength of the modern chess engine now. I think you got that what I'm trying to say. If you like this video, hit that like button. I will see you in the next one. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.